What's going on, guys? Welcome to Invision Community's latest webinar. I'm Jordan Miller, and joining me today is Charles and Olivia. What's up, guys? We're doing this live webinar because we've been working on monthly releases, and they've been going so well that we wanted to take things a step further by looping you in. We want to better inform you of some of the exciting things we have worked on, as well as open the floor to ask questions. In this webinar, we're going through new additions to our October release. So please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A feature. If we didn't answer your question live in the webinar, please submit your questions in the community topic, which we'll link to in the chat. Our team will do our best to answer you in the community, but you can also use the chat feature to weigh in and share feedback. Now, we have a bunch of exciting things to talk about in today's webinar about our October release, including our newly revamped events application. I go into pretty great detail about that in our latest blog post, so be sure to check that out. I'll also share the link to that in the chat. And we also have some smaller updates included in the next release that we want to touch base on, as well as a little preview of what you can expect in our November release. And with that said, I'm going to hand things over to Charles, and he'll kick things off with an overview of why we honed in on the Events app. Charles, take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to speak briefly today about why we redid the calendar app to become an events app and sort of what our thinking there was. I also want to touch briefly on, I know there's a question that was posted before about our monthly release cycles. We've been doing them a little over a year now, I think. Been doing monthly releases, and it's worked really great because it's allowed us to sort of do more frequent, smaller releases, where historically we've done these large releases a couple times a year. And we've been really enjoying that. I know that's a question a lot of people have been asking for that. And yeah, it's been working out great. So for the events application, and I'm going to be very careful to start saying events to the calendar because it is a bit of a mind shift here that we're trying to do. I'm going to share my screen. Maybe. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, I will not share my screen then. That's okay. So I'm not going to get into like the specific features and stuff like that on this call, because I think Jordan's blog entry did really, really well. And the big things we were doing with the event changeover was getting more into rethinking it from just a calendar, so just a boring, here's a block, a month display kind of thing, and getting more into more interesting sort of approaches. So with that change, we added integration with things like Zoom, which all of you who joined today saw that that meeting link powered by Zoom. And we support one of the things, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, and a bunch of others, Eventbrite, a bunch of others. And we're happy to add more if anyone has any suggestions as well for that. So if you have other kind of event providers, we're happy to add more of those. And then the other thing we did was, again, kind of going to, switching from calendar events to be more focused on what's happening now and encouraging sort of this approach to showing people things that are, I don't know if it's a word, engageable, meaning something that people can touch on, not just like, oh, here's this thing, but something that we want people to join and see and do stuff like that. So Jordan's sharing his screen now. Mine wasn't working for some reason. And so what you see is like happening today. That's what we're all in right now. That's great. And that top left block will always show the next upcoming event, or you can feature things too. So if you want multiple things there, it'll show a little slider bar. So yeah, if Jordan, you want to feature activity streams. This activity streams is actually something else we're going to start doing. We're starting doing classes for people who are on our cloud platform. So you'll be able to join us for live classes talking about different features, different concepts, stuff like that. That's new. And he's showing you the slider there. It shows, again, kind of going back to what we were thinking in terms of making it more event focused. So that's the big thing here. Some more enhancements coming down. We've actually already made a few enhancements. For example, if the event has RSVPs enabled, it will not show, take the Zoom link, for example, until it's ready. This one we didn't have RSVPs on. those kind of things have coming soon. Also, you notice this GPS prompt. We agree it's a little annoying at times. So we're going to actually change it up with some settings where you can either auto prompt like it does now, or you can have the user click a button to say they want to locate themselves, because that was some feedback we got, and we kind of agree it's a little bit too invasive at the moment for the GPS stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the why and what we were doing. We have some other clients using it really quite extensively already. We had developed a very similar sort of application for some other clients, and it worked really well for them. That's why we decided to sort of, allow this, or not allow, but deploy this sort of thing to some other clients. Jordan's shown you Lego uses our events app. This is an early version of it that is slightly different than the one everyone's going to be getting, but this is sort of our prototype. You can see they use it quite thoroughly to find Lego meetup groups around the world. And they do a combination of physical meetup groups, and if you scroll, as Jordan's scrolling, virtual events as well. So it works really good to combine the different event types there. So that is events in a nutshell. And like I said, we have some more improvements coming, some new features coming down the pipeline, like live topics that will leverage the event system even more to kind of create a cross between forums, discussions, and events. So you can have live discussions, things like that. But that's all coming soon, so I don't want to get too deep into there. So yeah, that's events. Is there any questions? Please post them. And what's next on our agenda, Olivia or Jordan?
Sure, I do have one question I can share now. For the in-person events, we do have a map that helps display those. So someone's asking, what does the map feature entail? What do we use to make that possible?
You can use either Google Maps or Mapbox. So you would just go to either Google Maps or Mapbox. You get their API keys, you put them in the admin CP. And then the way it works is if your event has a physical location, you literally put the address of that location in, and then it'll map it. So Lego's a good example that you saw those pins all over the map. All those events have addresses and locations. So that's exactly what we'll do for you. So you'll be able to prompt that.
Yep.
That sort of stuff. And by the way, if the user does not share their actual GPS location in the browser, which is fine, they don't have to, it'll do a best guess based on the IP. That's not perfect. For example, for me, if I visit our community and it guesses pretty close to where I am based on my IP, but if I'm on the Invision Community VPN that we all use at work, it thinks I'm in New Jersey because that's where our VPN provider is. It's not perfect, but if people aren't comfortable sharing their GPS, that's perfectly fine.
Well said. Appreciate that. So we're going to jump into a couple house cleaning items, a couple updates that we have that are going to be included in our next release, which is the October release, of course. We've added OpenSearch support for that. So Charles, can you expand on that for us?
Sure. So you'll see in our release notes that there's a mention about OpenSearch 2.1. That in and of itself is more just a quick a technology update behind the scenes. But just so everyone knows, the reason we're doing that is we are getting ready to do a large engine. For those of you who don't know, OpenSearch is just another name for Elasticsearch. Same kind of technology. We're getting ready to do a large technology update on how our Elasticsearch/OpenSearch function works. And this is sort of laying the groundwork for that. So we kind of need to do some backend updates to add support for the newer versions. And then we're looking forward to kind of improving our Elasticsearch setup to make it more efficient, which would allow more communities to be able to use it. Because right now, you kind of need to, if you don't have a really huge community, it's hardly worth using Elasticsearch. And we want everyone to be able to benefit from that. So we're re-engineering that. And that's kind of the first stage. So you see a lot of this kind of stuff. We'll do things months in advance and people don't really know why we're doing them. And then 6 months later, we're like, oh, okay, this is why they're laying it out. Building a platform as big as the community does take some planning.
Nice. We did actually have a question regarding Elasticsearch/OpenSearch. Are there any recommendations or preferences for using OpenSearch versus Elasticsearch?
No, they're actually basically the same thing. One's just a trade name, and the other one is kind of it's Amazon Web Services sort of generic name. I think there's some copyright. I don't really know, but it's the same platform.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks for clarifying that. So we're going to move on to the next little update that we have included in our October release. We're adding application filters for new reports in the Moderator Control Panel's report center. Would love for you to shed some light on that.
Yeah, so this is another one of those kind of things that's laying the groundwork. So that we're adding filters in the Moderator Control Panel. So if you have this is specifically tailored to really large communities who have like a larger moderation staff, where you might get tons of different reports and things in ModQ and stuff like that, and it gets hard to know who's doing what. So, you might have a different moderator assigned to your gallery than you do to forum conversations. And so that just allows you to filter it better. So what this is doing is laying the groundwork, though, because we're in our November release preview, we are adding the ability, so when something goes to the moderation queue, it will tell you why. Kind of going back again, particularly on really large communities, people were getting stuff in the mod queue and they're like, well, why is this here? This seems like someone just said, that's funny or something very benign. And maybe that person was on mod queue for another reason. Maybe you have new members mod queued. We also have our new image AI processing that, if someone uploads an inappropriate image, it'll put it into mod queue. And so we're having basically a reason code to say this was put in mod queue because maybe it's a bad word filter, maybe it's an image that's inappropriate, maybe it's other rules you have set up. And so this is another one of those kind of things that's laying the groundwork for some future features that we're really happy to be able to get ready. And I'm pretty sure preview that one's in the November release, barring testing and everything that goes with development.
Nice. So you just got a little preview of the November release, guys. In terms of the October one, we have one more little update to share with you, and that's updating the GraphQL library to 14.11.6.
Right. Another technical thing laying the groundwork. I know it's kind of my theme this month. The GraphQL, for those who don't know what it is, we have our REST API. This is another API thing. We have our REST API, sorry. GraphQL is another API framework, which is much more tailored to using with JavaScript, and it's JSON encoded, and you can get more specific with how you query and interact with data. It's all very technical, but what's exciting about it for us is once we implement GraphQL fully and it's available to everyone, you'll be able to use GraphQL to do modifications on the front end without having to edit any raw code, without having to edit PHP or anything like that. You'll be able to put just JavaScript and it can query it in the browser on the fly, which makes the software faster, makes it more customizable, more interactive. So you can have, buttons that do different things, all these kind of fun things that, third-party authors will be able to take advantage of. And it's very secure because the GraphQL library routes through the same authentication routines as everything else. So it'll actually really open up a lot more flexibility in what people can do with the platform. We already have some clients testing it. They're using it to embed Invision community into existing mobile apps that clients already have. They're using it to add functionality to maybe someone posted something, it's a sales lead, they can click a button, send it to Salesforce. So some really interesting applications going on. So again, kind of a technical thing, but it opens up so many new possibilities on how you can interact on the platform.
Nice. Well, Olivia, I see we have a couple questions rolling in. Should we share some right now?
We do. Yeah, that sounds perfect. So one of the questions is this new events app and overview we put in place to kind of help with engagement with events. So some people are asking for communities without a large number of events, or as you're just starting to showcase those events within your community, how do we recommend going about that when it's kind of bare?
Really, what I recommend, and I think this holds true of anything in a community platform, when you're just getting going, you don't have a lot of content yet, don't over categorize or over organize. So take the events app. We have the new overview pane. We also have the monthly, weekly, and daily views, which is more a traditional calendar view. I would shut those off. I would shut off the traditional, like Jordan's showing here. We don't have many posted right now because we're just kind of getting going on this new services. I would suggest maybe hiding this view. We don't on our side because we kind of want to show how the system works. I would hide those views and just have the overview pane, because the overview pane is also intelligent. If you start, at first it allows you to highlight, maybe here's these 3, 4, 5 events, but as you grow, it'll keep scrolling, eventually have a load more. And if you get that many events, great, then maybe enable the monthly view, or maybe embed an activity stream, some things like that. But I would say, to answer that, when you're first getting going, maybe just have this view, because take us, we only have what, 4 or 5 events here, 6 events, but it looks really good. It's visually engaging and it's showing off what's happening. So that's what I would suggest, is kind of simplify the interface down until you build up your community activity.
Okay, that's super helpful. And to share the events within the community, do we have a block widget that can be used on the homepage or in other various locations?
Yeah, so actually on our forum homepage, I actually put a little widget on the right showing upcoming events. So you can do that kind of stuff. There's also, if you made like a portal page in Pages, you can do, larger blocks. These can be embedded. So like Jordan posted an announcement at the top of the screen there, and he embedded a link to it. And of course, it shows a rich experience there. So that's really nice. Yeah, but for sure. I mean, I kind of, is always a big less is more. We only show the upcoming 2 events rather than you showing 10 events, because you really want people to focus on what's next. And that's where the events application, kind of narrows it down there pretty good. It really puts a big focus on happening now, happening today, or, up next sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One thing worth mentioning real quick, this topic that you're seeing on the screen, if you didn't get your question answered during this live chat, or you want to weigh in after the fact, you're watching this video in the future, please feel free to check out this topic. And you can leave your question or your comments here.
Yeah, very good. I guess one thing we should shout out while we're here is how we went about advertising our event. We used our new alert system to share with users.
Yeah, most of you probably got an alert reminding you, and you'll start to see a lot of carryover in our stuff, where you're going to see different features. We already made it inactive, so we don't keep annoying people with an alert pop for an event that's already happening. But you're going to see a lot more tie-in with various features. You're going to see, the event system that ties in with the alert system, which ties into live topics, and those kind of things. You're going to see a lot with, like, I won't spoil too much, but like we're doing some updates to our gallery application, which will make it less siloed, where galleries here, forums are here, and they kind of don't have much to do with each other. You'll have much more cross integration. So you can see a lot more of that kind of stuff happening over the next, say, year of Invision community developments.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Another question. We have currently integrations with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and other platforms that we listed there in our blog. Can we integrate with more?
Yes, if people have suggestions for more. Right now the integration is very basic. We plan on adding more integration, more deeper integration with some of these platforms. But that's going to be coming in a future release. But yeah, if there's any that you want that aren't there, certainly give us some suggestions. We honestly just sort of pick those as the ones that we tend to hear clients use. But if we miss any, no problem. It's actually very easy for us to add additional options.
Yeah, very good. And we have seen some of those suggestions in that blog, so we can grab those and try to add those integrations for you guys. Very good. Let's see. We do have a question about Facebook promotion, since that is being removed in an upcoming release. What is our recommendation for promoting community?
That was a difficult one. We didn't want to remove that one because we use it ourselves. But what's happening is, anyone who follows Facebook developer side, they change their APIs, they're a moving target. They're constantly changing how this stuff's supposed to work from a technical side. And then from a more just usability side, so many clients kept coming back to us and saying they would go through all these hoops with Facebook, try to get all set up, and then Facebook would reject it, or they would only partially approve it, things like that. And it just was becoming a huge problem to make it consistently work for all clients, and people are becoming frustrated. So we have our Zapier integration now, and we have some other integrations too, webhooks and things like that you can use. But speaking like take Zapier as an example, they're a Facebook partner, which means using Zapier, if you want to share something to say Facebook or whatever, Zapier has a whole team of people. All they do all night long is make sure it works with Facebook. So you can feed your Invision community data through Zapier to Facebook, and it's much more reliable that way. And that way, Zapier, who has a more direct line to Facebook and they can jump through all these hoops and stuff, can make sure that works for you. And then we can focus on giving you the tools necessary to do the sharing and do the content that you want in your community, and leave those kind of manipulations to something like Zapier, or there's other services too. I'm just using Zapier as an example. Kind of let them do what they're good at, rather than us trying to keep chasing Facebook all day long.
Nice, well said. Olivia, do we have any more questions, or are we
do
nearing
have-
the final stretch?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do have one more specific question for events. Do they get sorted by distance to the user of the physical event? Is that calculated the distance to the user themselves?
Yes, and actually it's dynamic. So when you load the page, if you share your location, or it does either way, it'll sort them by distance. And also if you manipulate the map, so if you move the map around or you zoom in or whatever, the list will change. So it'll always try to figure out where you are. But you say, well, I'm actually going to fly to, California next week. You can just move the map to California, zoom in, and it will dynamically refresh the view there. So that's a pretty cool feature too.
Very good.
Sweet. Well, if we don't have any other questions, if you missed this, again, please feel free to weigh in the community topic. The link will be included on the events page for this particular event, so you can navigate there. It's in our community support forum, the Community Managers Lounge. So we'd love to contribute. We love to engage with you. So please feel free to chat with us. And with that said, thank you guys so much for this awesome webinar and sharing the latest release updates for the October release. If you didn't get your question answered, please feel free to weigh in. And thanks so much for joining. Keep an eye out for our next webinar. It's happening in the near future. It's located on our events overview page, and you can access that in our website's navigation. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon.